I get out of my kayak and fall down on my hands and knees. I'm thinking, I just lost my balance. That's all, no big deal. I get up and I fall right back on my hands and knees again. I had lost all sense of balance. All I really wanted to do since I moved to Vancouver Island is get in my kayak and enjoy exploring the beautiful islands I could see. There's so many beautiful little coves to stop and just soak up the beauty. My vision was similar to what I've been doing most of my adult life, to get out in nature where I feel most at home. I've enjoyed backpacking, ski touring, snowshoeing, river rafting. Going on outdoors adventures is what lights me up. I think the sea kayak is the best way to appreciate what this area has to offer. The first step is to get on the water with my kayak and practice some skills. I want to make sure I'm ready to handle the conditions that could come up. I find a quiet hidden cove to practice the balance brace. My plan is to learn how to brace and roll with ease. But there's something very unique about being in cold water. In every other adventures I went on, there was always good clothing I could wear that would allow me to feel comfortable enough to enjoy myself. Even when snowshoeing in the Yukon mountains and 50 below temperature, I had a sense that I could keep myself warm. Now in the kayak, I'm finding myself getting colder and colder as I practice my skills. Even while wearing what is supposed to be the ultimate clothing for sea kayaking, I already tried everything. I started with the Farmer John wetsuit, then I moved up to the dry top, dry pants combo. I avoided the dreaded neck gasket of the full dry suit for as long as I could. I finally gave in and decided to sacrifice comfort, thinking there's no other way and at least I'll be warm enough. And here I am getting my neck strangled, wearing a 7mm neoprene hood over my head, and I'm still getting cold, to the point where my inner ears are so freezing I can't even stand up on my own 2 feet. Why isn't there kayak clothing that is comfortable for paddling? Something that would also keep me protected from the cold water. Something that can keep me toasty warm no matter what conditions I find myself in. After researching it, I concluded I'm going to have to make my own kayaking gear. I get a $60 sewing machine from Walmart, buy some waterproof fabric and some heat-applied seam tape. Apparently you can apply it with a clothing iron. I never touched a sewing machine in my life. I go to the library and come back with 12 books about sewing. I start creating a jacket with a waterproof hood. The seal face is a major problem. I try it out on the water and the whole thing leaks like a sieve. Turns out the iron-on tape doesn't work well for me. I even turned an old drill press into a press to see if more pressure would help. It didn't. It still leaked at the seams. The thin fabric I was using was cheap and good enough to test the designs, but after a few tries on the water, it was also leaking. I buy better fabric only to find out that my sewing machine doesn't work with this fabric. I'm just getting thread all tangled up and getting more and more frustrated. After a lot of time and money spent, I'm not any closer to having kayak clothing for my adventures. It seems like a mission impossible. I think I only kept trying because of how desperate I was to kayak in comfort. One of my friends with whom I paddled with at the time thought I was crazy. He'd tell me, stop reinventing the wheel, just the dry suit is the best kayak gear. But I can't let it go. I still have this dream of getting out there in paradise and being comfortable. I want the freedom to practice and develop my skills anywhere at any time, of being able to handle whatever conditions come up and stay protected and comfortable. I want to enjoy being on the sea the same way I enjoyed nature when I was backpacking. I never wanted to be an outsider struggling against the elements. I didn't dare tell anyone this at the time, but secretly, I thought there was a new kayak jacket that needed to be invented, and I wanted to be the one to do it. Surely I'm not the only one who needs this. Ever since I was a kid, I wanted to be self-employed, but I never actually had the guts to go for it. I was thinking maybe this could be my first business. I had to make a choice. Give up on the whole idea of creating my own kayak jacket, or invest in the equipment that could make it possible. I had to admit that this wasn't just about creating gear for myself anymore. I had a vision of creating a revolutionary kayak jacket. At the very least, I would need a seam taping machine and an industrial sewing machine. I already knew about the tulik the Inuit of Greenland wore when hunting from their kayaks. I read about how they were made of seal skin, and they had a special way to seal the seams using a special waterproof stitch. I think the Inuit are extremely ingenious and practical. I thought if they're using the tulik, it's probably perfectly suited for sea kayaking. The plan was to follow the Inuit design of the tulik, but with modern, waterproof, breathable fabric. It would require overcoming some serious challenges. For the hood to be comfortable and waterproof, it needs to be fitted to the paddler. The tulik would need to be customized to fit the cockpit of the kayak and the paddler. I don't know of any successful manufacturers that sells directly to the consumer, so this is a bit of an experiment. I'll never forget the first time I took my tulik prototype for a test. The seams were professionally sealed. I finally had a face seal that was waterproof and wrist gaskets to keep the water out. And for the first time, I was using high quality fabric. I'm in my kayak with a mask and snorkel. I drop down to get an underwater view, come back up, still warm and dry. I do a balanced brace, totally warm and comfortable, relaxed. That's the moment I realized I had done it. This is what I've been trying to do for years. Actually, it was even better than expected. I never realized before this moment how much the spray skirt restricts movement and how comfortable it is when you don't have anything squeezing your torso. I can finally practice the techniques I've been wanting to master in comfort anytime I want. I can just stop in a nice place, stretch into a balanced brace, and keep paddling with my hair still dry. And more importantly, there's none of that cold water in the ears that can cause me to lose my balance and fall over. I discovered a new appreciation for what the Inuit had invented. The clothing, the kayak, and the techniques all work together. You become something that belongs out there on the sea. I don't look for extremely rough conditions, but if it comes up, I don't worry about it. Just put the hood on and paddle through it. If I capsize, no big deal. I stay warm and dry. I know I have the skills to handle it because I practice regularly in real life conditions. I feel like I belong in nature again, the same way I did when I used to go backpacking in the mountains for weeks at a time. I don't go on a trip without the tulik. The only time I don't wear it is if it's too hot for anything more than a shirt. The same friend who was saying I'm crazy for making my own kayak gear, he ended up being one of my first customers, and soon I had a wait list. For those of us who appreciate it as much as I do, we don't want to paddle with anything else. If it didn't exist, I would have to create the comfort paddling tulik. If you want to know more about it, just click on the link in the description below this video. Thanks for watching.